Welcome back to the channel. We are in bed because we watched 1917 at the movie theater and it was too late to safely make a video. I think it's probably the best way. Because the movie theater where we saw the video at is not exactly the best video, as classics as the police being next to us while we were reviewing Gemini Man, and a homeless guy yelling at us one time at another review, which I don't remember, but the guy was yelling at us. So if we actually survived the police video with Gemini Man, and we didn't want to do the video, that's how bad it was. Anyway, so we finished. We watched 1917. Maybe 4 days ago, I think. And since you don't remember, let's see how much retention do you
remember it.
You see what I mean? You did hardly ever remember the movie.
No, I kind of remember it.
You do remember it?
Yeah, for the most part.
Okay. So tell us the plot of 1917.
Well, the plot was kind of convoluted, but...
What? It was the simplest plot in the world. How could it be convoluted?
I just don't understand why it took this man that long to get from point A to point B.
Because it was far. It wasn't exactly around the corner. Otherwise, they could have just yelled it out.
So anyway, and he couldn't send a message to somebody, the other guy.
Wait. Hang on. We're gonna discuss it. We're gonna discuss that. Okay. So tell me the plot of 1917.
The plot was there's a war going on. And,
World War One.
They are
World War One.
They're in France.
Yes.
Or Germany. France?
I think France.
Okay. And it's the English army.
Yep, British Army.
And
by the way, this is before This is before the United States enter World War One.
I was wondering about that because I was like, they didn't.
Why are there Americans?
Yeah. Okay, so anyway,
that time period.
There was this some kind of.
I love when you explain plots. Good. When you talk about convoluted.
Some kind of plan to storm some German.
You want to finish it?
Army. No.
Okay.
And this English general had figured out that it was
Admiral. I think it was. It was more than a general. A commander, I think. Actually, he was a commander.
Whatever he was high up there.
He
had found out that that this plan was going to fail, and that the Germans were basically trapping it was going to be a trap.
It's a trap.
A lot of people were going to die, and so he this general or admiral or whatever he was gave this note to these two guys to give to the other general or commander or admiral on the other line at point B that was doing this raid on the Germans, to tell him to stop what he was doing and stand and not do whatever he was doing. So another offshoot to the story was one of the guys had a brother that was on the other end with this other general at point B, and he wanted to save his brother too. So
kind of like a Saving Private Ryan almost.
Well, I never stopped saving.
So
I don't know what that was about. Anyway.
Yeah, bye. Okay.
So it started off with these two guys trying to get from point A to point B and getting shot at and all this other junk.
Okay. Let me summarize it for you. The Germans had basically retreated. They were retreating, and they were believing that the Germans were on the run, but that they were actually fortifying in where the British were moving forward. So they were sending 2 brigades to go into what they thought was a retreating army, while they found out that the German army wasn't retreating, but it was actually connecting with a bigger army, and they were running into a trap because there were more soldiers than they thought there were going to be, because they were actually connecting with another thing. That's why they sent it back from. So they were here. The commander here, their fighting front was the people that were retreating, and the moving British army thought that they had them retreating and that they had them cornered, but they were not cornered, and that's why it was a trap. It was, I think they were planning it that way. Whatever it was, they were running into an ambush. So he sends a message to go through to the front. Now, the movie is incredibly well photographed.
I think it should get something for cinematography.
Well, no, I think no. If you don't give anything for cinematography, you're crazy, because it is basically shot, and it's not a secret. It's basically shot as a one continuous shot. Now, obviously, it wasn't one continuous shot because they did camera trickery to hide the edits that they were doing very cleverly. Going into the cave, that's an edit. Once you go into dark, then you can jump to the next one. And also, anytime that they went in front of an object, so if the character was behind an object and they went in there, it makes it easier for them to edit it so it looks like one continuous shot. So if you do the pan correctly, you can match the frames and it can continue. Regardless of that.
Yeah, it was
incredibly photographed.
Pretty intense,
and it was intense. You felt like you were in it.
Yeah, I mean, here's these 2 guys who that it might be a suicide mission that they're on, and it follows them with, I guess, in a 2-day span. Right?
Yeah, I think
it starts off like.
I think they had 20. I think they had maybe 24 to 36 hours. I don't think it was 2 days span. I think it was 1 day to get to the front line. Then he gets shot, or I think he gets shot. So when he gets to the French town,
he loses time because he gets knocked out.
He gets knocked out, and then that was into the dawn. So I think he went from dawn to dawn, because I think he woke up, got the note, and then he went all the way through. So he would have gotten there like maybe 6 hours earlier. But getting to the incredible scenes in the movie, you really felt for these guys.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the fact that one guy had a vested interest to get to his brother, and he doesn't make it because of trying to help the enemy. Because
that was insane.
That was insane. I was not expecting that.
No.
I was expecting the German to maybe help him.
They dragged the German out of his burning plane. They saved him. And while the one guy was trying to get water from the well,
the German guy
stabbed the other guy mortally,
stabbed the brother that was
wounding him. And when he turned back around, here he is getting stabbed. And so now the main guy has to
get there by himself,
take action and kill the German guy and get this note delivered to the general by himself.
That was actually the first time shots were fired by them. They did not shoot any fire until that point. And I think he shot twice, and then when he got involved in that, when he gets to the German town, or the French town, and he gets involved in the shooting, and he wounds the guy, but then he gets out there. That was the other time, so the guy who got stopped never actually shot anybody either.
I thought what was interesting though is I've dealt with those guns before that they had. I've had them, you
Which
know,
ones is that?
the rifles with the bayonets on the end, and
What's the purpose of that? Just to stab somebody that close?
yeah, if you're
Okay.
yeah, like up close combat.
Okay. Instead of shooting, just stab them. Okay. Kind of a Walking Dead kind of a thing.
Yeah.
That's what they
But
should use.
that was actually kind of crazy because I saw them how he loaded his gun, and I actually got to see it in action. I only usually see it
In movies or whatever. Yeah.
no physically in hand, but
Okay.
not
Like that?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But not
Even that old kind of rifles? Oh.
But I know they're never loaded or anything,
Thank God.
obviously, and but I thought that was interesting to see it. So
To see how
yeah,
it works or whatever, or in action.
especially putting the bayonet onto the end of the gun because I didn't realize how easy it was to take on and off, and that was
Yeah, because I didn't see him take it off though. I know that.
Well, he never. I mean, it was off when we first saw it, and then he put it on.
But then he took it off again. When he got, yeah, he was involved. When he was involved in the shooting with the guy in France. When he made it to well, I think they're always in France, but when he made it to the city at night where it was burning, he had it off. He didn't have it on.
Hmm.
I don't know when he took it off, or maybe he took a different rifle. I don't know. There's a couple of things that I didn't like about the movie, and it could be that this is how war works. I mean, I've never been at war. Definitely was never a World War One. My grandfather was, but I wasn't.
Well, I think our version of war nowadays is different.
Well, I understand it, but
because back then you didn't have drones and
no,
the atom bomb and all this other shit that
the shit that comes. But so they sent only 2 guys. That seemed like a low number of people, doesn't it? Why not 3? 1 dies, you still have 2. Because this was a big news.
They would be able to go unnoticed, maybe.
So 2 people will be unnoticed, or 3 people will be noticeable. Okay, so now when the battalion, the 1 battalion that was going by and going to that city, supposedly they were going to that city, but they couldn't because of the bridge being down.
Yeah.
They couldn't continue.
Right.
If they had a bunch of people in that whole battalion, and the guy knew what the message was. He knew that the message was they're running into an ambush.
Right.
But they noticed that he's there by himself, and he did mention that. He said, "Why are you by yourself?" Couldn't he have spared somebody in that battalion to say, "You know what? Accompany this man. Make sure that he makes this delivery, because this was a pretty fucking important delivery." Just to leave it to 1 guy in a suicide mission now. At that point, he could have sent somebody else with him.
Yeah, you're right.
I mean, granted, it doesn't make for a good movie, but
it kind of you kind of see also the back in those days communication sucked ass.
oh, I know.
I mean,
Nowadays,
no phone, no walkie-talkie, no nothing.
I think they had a walkie. Did they have a walkie-talkie?
No.
I thought there was a walkie-talkie somewhere.
I think they had maybe the telegram or whatever, but
I don't think they had a telegram at war. I mean, you need to have wires, so I don't think they would have had that.
So I mean, it kind of really sucked. But then too, I think if I would have come across any English soldier, I would have been saying, "Hey, dude, my commander just is trying to stop these people. If you see them, stop them." But I guess the only way this man was going to believe him was an actual note signed by this other general. So I don't know.
Well, yeah, I mean, any Yahoo could have been sent and ran by himself, but okay, so this note came from whatever that battalion that was behind. Obviously, this was a different battalion that they ran across. I guess if two soldiers for two different battalions come together, then the guy might have a problem believing him because they're going like, "Well, you guys are just dissents, and this is a forgery." And maybe I don't know. I mean, maybe two guys from the same brigade would have been with the same platoon or whatever you call those things. And maybe that's what it was. But it just seems to me that he could have sent somebody with him, another gun, to fight. I mean, this is, even if he was afraid of losing one of his soldiers, the bottom line is that two battalions were about to be slaughtered by a massive 1,600 army group that was fortified, and they didn't realize it.
Yeah.
So even if he was thinking, I don't want to lose one guy, if this idiot didn't make it, you were going to lose two battalions.
That is true.
So what was the deal?
I didn't think about that.
I thought about that the moment I saw it. Because that's what I thought.
Well,
because I thought that what I really thought was when there was the dogfight, the two planes fighting, and the German plane goes down, and they saved the German guy from the plane. That I thought that the German guy was gonna infiltrate them in so they can make it over there in gratitude of them saving his life. That's what I actually thought was gonna happen.
I did think something was going to go down at that farm because there
was warm milk, or there was milk.
And it was like
fresh milk, yeah,
squeezed milk.
So where were those people at?
Yeah.
Who was the person that milked?
I thought that was...
Couldn't have been the plane.
No, I thought they were going to come out the woodwork and
get them, or somebody was going to get them, yeah.
And why would they leave a cow? I forget. They said something about that cow, but I don't remember what, and it really didn't make any much sense when I...
And convenience that he had milk to give to the girl that had the baby.
Which
that wasn't even her baby.
I was like, this is kind of nasty, because this is like at least 10-hour-old milk.
Was better than no milk.
We're not talking pasteurized or anything. I mean, we're talking, oh my God, you're going to die from this milk because this is an infant.
I don't think 1917 was thinking of any of these things, honey. I don't think that there was... That's why the life expectancy was like 42. We are old people in this age.
So, but I was like, you're going to feed that baby what?
They thought a lot of different things, not what we think right now. So I think you're thinking 2020
that
hindsight.
Must have been nasty even when
it's 103 years
in
ago.
Damn bucket because it was like warm and.
But back then, this was a delicatessen. I don't know.
Yuck!
I understand. It's disgusting. Anyway. We're making fun of 1917. Are we that people?
The action though was really awesome. I mean, there was one point where they went into this bunker cave thing, and they tripped a wire, and
the mouse tripped the wire, the rat,
true. And
he saved his life. The
Germans had set a booby trap in this thing, and all of a sudden, there was this huge explosion from the rats tripping the wire.
And the thing was coming down.
The main character, what was his name?
I don't remember any of the character's name.
I know. The main character. It ended up being the main character.
The guy who made it to the end.
Yeah.
But he's the one that got blown up.
He got
knocked out.
He was
knocked the fuck out.
And buried under rubble, and he almost died. And that his best friend...
And that was funny, though, also, that, he saves them from there, but he was resenting him for picking him. Because I guess at the beginning of the movie, he gets woken up. Somebody which is funny.
It ended that way, too.
I know, that's what I was going to say. But
tree. He was leaning on the tree.
But it was two different people leaning on trees. One was the brother... And then the other one was the guy who survived. and that's how it began and ended. The book ends, but. So the movie started like that with the guy leaning on a tree, and he gets woken up, and then he wakes up his friend. Because I guess he said, you need to go, you have an orders. I think say pick a buddy or something like that, and you gotta pick somebody to go along with you. He didn't think it was gonna have the message to say 2 battalions.
Supposedly though, he was gonna go home. The one guy was gonna go home like any day now.
Yeah, and maybe that's what he thought was it, whatever.
But the one guy was like, you don't want to go home. The guy who ended up surviving, he's like, you don't want to go home.
I remember that. Why did he say that?
He said he had been home. I guess this might have been his second deployment or whatever.
Okay.
And I forget what happened when he went home. He felt lost when he went home for some reason.
I don't remember that. I don't remember even that.
I know he went home and they gave him a medal or something, and he was.
Oh yeah, he got the medal, but then he lost the medal.
He lost the medal or something.
Yeah, he had a medal
like,
for.
Well, if I would have had a medal, the guy's like, the medal's nothing.
Yeah, that's what he said. Yeah.
And there was another guy who had mentioned something about a medal. I think it was the commander of that one that ended up taking him to the bridge. And he said something about the medal too, kind of like, medals are nothing as well. I mean, he pretty much downplayed medals because medals don't give you
superpowers or whatever. Yeah,
I think it was something to his family. Like medals mean nothing to
I've given a lot of medals to family members that they passed away with their medals or whatever. Yeah, I remember that part. Yeah, there's a kind of subplot there with that medal. I don't remember exactly what the whole thing was. I mean, the movie was incredibly, like I said, the movie was incredibly well acted, incredible photography. The cinematography was amazing. I mean, that whole concept is incredible. The
weird thing is though you have like I don't know how it is nowadays, but back then I guess they made these maze-like structures.
But those are trenches. Yeah, they still do that.
Do they?
I believe so.
To hide from the enemy or whatever, to be at a strategic area. But at some point, some of the people in some parts of the trenches were like in life and death situations, while around the corner they were smoking cigarettes and falling asleep. So I mean, it's like, it's kind of like the equivalent of us, like nothing's happening here at our house, but next door all hell is breaking loose.
Well,
and there's
I don't think they were that
on.
close.
I mean, it seemed like it.
I don't think they was that close though.
So it kind of seemed like, I mean, he was going down the maze, and then he would turn a corner, and shit was going down. So I don't know.
Overall, what are your thoughts on the movie?
Cinematography was the bomb.
It's the best movie of the year, though. I mean, because it's winning the best movie of the year Oscar. I mean, it did it at the Golden Globes, so it's getting the big prize at the end. It is the best.
I don't know about the depiction of.
This is I would say
it is based off of a true story, as
something true. Yeah.
I mean, they said that basically, I think they kind of the director or the writer or whoever made
it was stories from his grandfather. Yeah.
Grandfather.
Yeah, Sam Mendes, I think it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was something about his father. Or his grandfather had told him these stories, or.
So, but some of it kind of was like.
Stories are stories. I mean,
I don't know. I mean, it was like, okay, once you get out of these trenches, like towards the end when he was in the camp that he needed to be in, they're like climbing over the trench and basically running towards the enemy, and bombs are being thrown out and people are just dying left and right, and people are running one way and he's running.
That was a great. that was a great scene. It was a great scene on, him making it and not realizing that he made it because he fell in the river and the river dragged him to where he needed to go, fortunately.
True.
That was a great moment because he didn't realize it, that he was there. I mean, he just sure will to make it, and he makes it somewhere, and it is where he needed to be. And then he kept asking everybody, "Where's the general? Where's the general?" And, it was like further and further, so he couldn't get that done.
Before here, the guys are climbing up out of the trench. They're pretty much dying as they're coming out the trench and getting blown up. And when he goes back into the trench, some of them are... There's nothing going on in the trench, really.
Yeah, that seems.
I mean, it's like,
odd.
okay, there's like a 10 feet from the trench to
no, he was
whatever.
going more than 10 feet. No, he was walking for a while. But I mean, I get your point on that.
So the trench is like a safe zone, and then when he does finally end up finding the admiral,
but I think,
this guy's in his little room, just
which is right over the almost the battlefront.
Yeah.
But I think what happens is you're so the British thought that they had the numbers going in, right? But they didn't. But the Germans don't know how many British people are in these trenches. So I don't think... Are you talking about the Germans going in the offense and going on the people in the trench? Because you don't know how many people are in these trenches.
I'm just like, okay, so it almost seemed like the trenches were off limits, because I would think that I would be like, okay, if I was the enemy, I would be bombing the trenches. I don't know.
Yeah, true. Yeah,
not waiting for them to come out the trenches.
But let's table that discussion there. But
like I've never been to war. I don't know about it.
But let's talk about that.
I usually avoid war movies on top of that. So,
but let's talk about the whole scene, though. I mean, the whole part, because it being filmed in one continuous shot, other than when he gets knocked out. It seems like a one scene almost like, but that one part where he's realizing they're sending the first wave.
Mm-hmm.
That it was a shortcut just to get out, be in the battle scene,
okay,
and run across
the field,
and then to make it
get
down
back in the trench,
and then get back in the trench.
The other area of the trench.
The fact that you had to do that in one shot, and then knowing, because I read that when he was running into people and stuff like that, actually it was not planned. He just ran into people because everybody is like, okay, we're filming this as one shot, but it looks so good.
Yeah, it did.
I mean, the whole sheer determination to get where he needed to go.
Well,
to try to save his brother.
His best friend.
Or his friend's brother.
When his best friend died in this mission, he felt obligated to
get this to the end.
To save this guy's brother, ultimately.
Yeah.
I think.
And to be successful in the mission. Yeah. I mean, you don't want to be unsuccessful and the guy died for nothing.
Yeah.
And his brother died too.
Yeah.
So no, but I mean that scene when he's running into people and the fact that you did it in one shot, but there are all of these effects in there. I mean, I guess some of them could be CGI, but I mean, there were some practical effects in this whole thing of him running around and the bombs going off and things exploding and people. I mean, holy cow!
It was intense.
That was a good scene.
It was.
That was easily what should win the Oscar for Best Movie. Because I think it's better than Ford versus Ferrari, which I loved.
Really?
It is better than that movie. Ironically, they're both good for the same reason, because you both felt like you were in it. You felt like you were in that war, and you felt like you were one of the you felt like you were the third character that went out.
I think the only problem I have with the movie was if it was realistic.
I think it was mostly realistic. I think it was fairly realistic. I mean, I think I think when you're looking at them sending a note from behind the lines to the front of the lines, I think we're failing to to realize that that things were different back then.
Yeah,
And there's also some code of war kind of a thing that you also you still maybe kind of have, but um, I mean I think it's kind of like not relating to something something as trivial it could be now, but if it was like 1980 would be somebody gets diagnosed with AIDS or something close to that. The time frame now between somebody dies is a lot bigger than back in 1980, where you were gone. So if you see a movie from the 80s and the person has very it's a race against time because they just found out they have AIDS. I don't think you can relate to that now because it's totally different than it was back in 30 years ago. And now imagine 103 years ago for this. So I mean the world was totally different.
Sure.
But like I said, I liked it better than Ford versus Ferrari. If it wins the Oscar, I would not be upset. So far, my three favorite movies in the Oscar mix is Ford versus Ferrari, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and this one.
What are the others?
I will have to look it up, but there's a.
Have we seen the others?
I don't know. Let me see if I can. Let's look up 2020 Best Movie nominees.
Maybe I need to see Once Upon a Time in Hollywood again. I think I was kind of half watching.
All right, so the 9 nominees. I think it's 9. Yep, 9 nominees. Actually, we saw one more. 1917, Ford versus Ferrari, Joker.
Oh.
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Parasite. Yeah, The Irishman, Little Women, Jojo Rabbit, and Marriage Story.
I want to see Jojo Rabbit.
Oh, it's better than Little Women.
Yeah. Yeah, it was better than Little Women.
But still, I mean...
I thought Little Women was pretty good, though.
Oh, yeah. I don't think we posted that one yet.
Oh, okay.
That's coming after this. But, well, sometime after this. Anyway, I think it's better than the other...
Huh.
Than the ones, at least better than Joker.
You thought
this movie was better than Joker? Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. No, the whole concept of being shot in one shot, the whole thing.
Like I said, it
being
should
able,
get
but
it
that's the thing, though.
Cinematography.
But think
and
about
direction.
it, though. Think about it. Well, but hang on. You have cinematography is amazing because it's done in one shot, right? So directing, can you imagine what kind of job he had to do? The fact that he can't be micro directing this movie. He had to have prepared these people to make this role, because remember, it's only one shot. It's one shot, and I would say that I don't think they had long periods of time from the moment the shot started to when they did the creative editing. I mean, can you imagine how hard and how complicated it is to do that with the actors, with the timing, and because the actors had to come in and out too. It's so interesting that it's just one shot, and you're still not bored of this one particular shot that it was maintained throughout the whole movie.
It was very suspenseful, though.
That's what I'm saying, and it added to the suspense about it. You didn't know what
that one right before the one guy got killed in that farm, the abandoned farm. It was very suspenseful because they were searching the farm to see if there was anybody in there. Anybody there.
But anyway, we're gonna have to cut it short because something happened over here. I think we reached the limit or something. On something. But anyway, how many stars do you give it? I give it 5. So go ahead.
I'll give it 4.
I still
4.5.
All right. Anyway, until whoopsie daisy. Anyway, until next time. Good night, Bob. Wherever you are.